okay? And we're going to sit ourselves on a block or a book, or a folded blanket will be fine too, although you may need a folded blankets or a towel for some support for your legs. So we're coming into this wide stride posture here. So this is called Siddhasana, which is the Adept's pose, and so called because it's a very common meditation position that we come to, because it allows the spine to sit in a nice natural alignment. It will, if you get the posture right, allow a release in the hips. So we're looking to have the heels in line with each other, okay? And then if you find you've got a little lift on your shins, then this is where your towel or blanket will come in handy, because you can pop it underneath your shins like so. Okay, and then you may place your hands onto your thighs. And actually, let's take a mudra. So we're going to take what's called Prithvi mudra. I'm going to come closer into the screen so you can see this mudra. So this is to bring our thumb tip and our ring finger tip together. So Prithvi means earth, so the earth element. So as you would possibly guess, this mudra is a mudra that we might take if we need a little bit of grounding. Okay? So we'll close our eyes. Try not to grip your thumb and finger together, so just let them make a soft contact with each other. You don't have to press them into each other, but I want it to be soft, so you know it's so sensitive that you can perceive the sponginess of each of the finger and the thumb. And as you tune into your breath, as we always do, we may feel the breath as we breathe, perhaps flowing through that contact between the finger and the thumb. Perhaps moving through, so there's a little tingle perhaps between that contact, a little pulse of energy that we can feel. So what we have with Hasta mudras, hand seals, which is what mudra means, is this opportunity to tune into the circuit of prana, the circuit of life force, the circuit of energy. And as we turn our attention to that little exchange of energy between the finger and the thumb, what happens is that we start to, open the doorway to our subtle body, the Sukshma Sharira. So we can start to have a real direct experience of the flow of energy through the body. So feel the breath flowing with ease, with space. And then I'd like you to slowly release that mudra, so release your fingers. bring your hands to your heart. We're going to just start by chanting a little 3-syllable mantra. So that 3-syllable mantra that we chant is Aim, Kleem, Sao. So as some of you will know, I run a course around goddesses, and I just had one of the sessions last night, and we're about to go into a goddess known as Lalita or Tripura Sundari, and this is her bija mantra. Now, you may not have any particular pull towards practice with deities, but what these bija mantras represent is what we get represented through that anthropomorphic form of a deity, which is just a means of pulling us into particular qualities of consciousness. That's all it is. And the qualities of consciousness that we're tuning into with these bijas are the quality of beauty, creativity, playfulness, okay? And auspiciousness. So, it's a good energy to have around right now. So I will chant it once, and we'll just chant it once together so you can repeat it back. So I'll chant it so you can hear it first. Aim, Kleem, Okay, take a deep inhalation. Clean. And then let your breath settle. And then you may release your hands from your heart. And we're going to bring ourselves up to standing in your own time. So, the resonance of those bijas. Stay with us. We can bring this into our practice today, perhaps a sense of creativity, of playfulness. Of beauty. So as we come to stand here, centering on our feet in Tadasana, so we're bringing our feet in towards each other, and you're giving yourselves as much space as you need between the feet, so please do feel free to go up to hip width apart if you need to. Let's just look down at our own feet. Now, we often look down at our feet in yoga, and when we're practicing Tadasana, we're looking down at them from a point of view of perhaps how we're aligning our feet and perhaps feeling the feet, but let's just look down at our feet in appreciation for a few moments. These feet that carry us around, that provide us with constant support. So, as we feel into the feet, as we spread the toes and wake them up, we can enjoy the feet. We can maybe even have a little bit of gratitude to our feet for that support. Okay, and then as we settle into that support of the feet, we're going to feel a light rising up through the body. So a light rising up through the body. Releasing your arms, a little light tone in the belly, a lift and extension through the chest, but also up through the back of the body, so we don't go into too much of a sort of chest thrusting forwards action, which can happen. So feel lightness around the torso. Notice if there's any areas that are getting tight, and if you find that, then perhaps have a wiggle, perhaps have a move into it to find some release there. Our palms are facing forward, so we have a natural openness across the chest, across the collarbones, to the heart center, and we breathe. Okay. We're going to place our hands to our hips now. Now make all of these transition movements really conscious. Let's see if we can do that for the whole of our class today. Like this movement is a yoga posture. Give yourself to even a simple action like placing your hands on your hips can be made to be an action that has your full attention, your full awareness, that is an action of yoga, a call to state of integration, a state of union. Okay, and the same again as we step our feet wide. So stepping wide across your mat. Perfect. Breathing. And then just find your breath again. Let's see if we, in many ways, it's really useful for us to slow down our practice. So, there's no part of our practice that we sort of skip over, because every little moment, and it might be that micro moment of a transition of bending a knee to go into a posture that provides you with the awakened experience in your practice. So it's really important that we keep this call to awareness constantly. Okay, we're going to turn our left toes in. You can pick up the heel, so you allow that heel to extend out. You can extend through that foot when you place that heel back down. And this will awaken your calf muscle a little more. And maybe we will need that after a weekend or after our first week of lockdown. Perhaps we need that. And we'll turn the front foot and leg out. So our front heel lines up with the instep of the back foot. That's it, perfect. Now just feel into a little movement here, so we can feel the freedom of the hips, we can feel into the groin, and actually maybe you might even move into a little bit of more of a rotation movement. So let's try that. Let's get the body moving into it. Almost like you were slowing down the action of a hula hoop with your hips. That's it, play into it. So remember this quality of play that those Bijas represented in this form of this deity Lalita, which means she who plays. So we can bring that quality to our yoga practice now. Let's just find the playfulness, the joy in the practice. Now let's find a rising up through the body. So again, the feet are deep into the floor. You might check in with your feet, maybe looking at your feet, spreading the toes a little but without tension. And then we're going to take our arms out to the side. Okay, and we'll just feel into a little movement here. In fact, let's take our arms above our head. So this is a useful transition for Virabhadrasana Dvi, Warrior Two, because this will help us to keep our body nice and upright. So let's find a little light tone in the belly as we lift through the chest. And we're going to bend that front knee. So you start to extend through your thigh bone and you allow yourself to start to sink down into your hips. Perfect. Deep breaths. Now, you might play a little here. Anyone who has knee issues, the bouncing action doesn't always support that so well. So if you are working with any injured knee, then I recommend just pausing and allowing the hips to slowly sink down. But those of you who are completely healthy in your knees, you might find this bouncing up and down useful. We can start to feel that work through the quadriceps, maybe through the inner thigh. And then we're going to extend our arms out wide so we can feel a deepening of the shoulder blades into the back of the body. So I'm exaggerating this action, although feel free to play with that yourself, of this roll back of the shoulders. And then what I'm feeling here is that my shoulder blades are coming forwards in towards the ribs. Okay, and I'm extending out into my fingertips and breathing. Again, keeping this light tone of support through the belly as you lift and extend up through the upper body and you breathe, and you're free to move here. Now you may look over your front hand, perhaps that feels useful, and depending on where you're looking to, maybe some of you might have a view out of the window. You can breathe. Okay, we're going to take it back into Viparita Virabhadrasana, or reverse warrior. So let's raise that lead arm up and bring our hand down to our back leg. And again, lift and extend. Now the top arm can either reach directly up or it may come over. So as we reach up or over, what we're doing here is we're playing into this extension through the side ribs. We're opening up this space here between the thigh bone and the pelvis. And of course, we're supporting it with our breath. Fantastic. Okay, inhale and come up, pressing firmly into your front foot as you come up. Placing your hands on your hips, breathing, allowing these transition stages to be, perhaps we could even bring an aim for them to be the deepest part of our practice. Maybe we can do that. Turning your feet back towards the front and finding your breath. Perfect. Now let's turn the back toes in. So right toes, perhaps, maybe you did the other leg, that's fine. And front foot and leg out. Just check the alignment. Front heel with the back instep, that's it, perfect. Okay. And again, we might feel into that little bit of movement of the hips. So maybe we might circle around the hips. Perhaps you need to lift up the back heel and extend it away. Just play into that. So enjoy this little bit of movement here. And then come to pause. And we'll raise our arms up above our head so we can keep the body in an upright position rather than it lunging us into the posture. We're then going to bend the front knee and we're going to feel that extension through the thigh bones as we feel this sinking down into the hips. So there's a dropping down into the hips, out of which we can then arise. And then the arms can come down to shoulder height, and again this is slightly exaggerated, but you know, it can be an interesting way to explore that opening across the chest and the deepening of the shoulder blades. And then feeling that light tone in the belly, that lift in the chest. And then you may perhaps pass your gaze over your front hand and we feel a reach into both hands. That's it. So we extend through both fingertips. That's it. And we breathe. Deep breaths. Fantastic. Now let's take it over into a reverse warrior here. So we bring our hand down towards our back leg, our top arm up, and you're either extending that top arm up completely, or you are taking your arm over behind you. So what we're doing here, and you know, feel free to move into it because you can use this often when we're practicing yoga. We want to allow our awareness to pervade the whole body, but there may be a particular target area of the body to draw us in. So here we can feel that target area as being the side ribs. So we might move around to play into that, to really get into that area, to feel the richness of that. Okay, perfect. Now you can press firmly into that front foot as you inhale and come up. And release your arm down and turn back to the front and take a breath, and again just enjoy this moment of pause. And let's walk our feet back in towards each other. See my cat joining us for yoga this morning. And then come back into Tadasana and, enjoy that pull back into the center. Enjoy that pull back into the center. Find your breath. So it's one of the most important qualities of a yoga practice is this relationship with the breath that we form. And it's not a relationship of control, although we will sometimes move into practices that add a little bit more control. But it's a relationship of equality, of how we meet our breath and how the breath breathes. We're not trying to sort of take hold of the breath and manipulate it in a particular way. But we are coming into, total presence with our breath. We are coming into this, very equal relationship with our breath. That's it. Pause, breathe, settle. Okay, now we're going to go wide again with our legs and hands back onto the hips, make it a conscious movement. Let's take our feet wide, and you might need your block or book. We're going to fold forwards into Prasarita Padottanasana. Okay, so this wide stride forward folding posture. So that fold is going to come from our hip joints. So you check the alignment of your feet. So the midline of each foot is in line with the midline of the other foot. So make sure, one foot isn't slightly turning out or turning in, that you've got them, equally placed away from each other. And then I'd like us to just spend a moment tuning into this space that we have here between the feet, through the inside of the legs. So this triangle of space. Let's see if we can feel into that. And as we feel into that, notice how it is possible to feel that space. So it's really useful in terms of, waking us up to our true nature, because we have a relationship with self that is often based on us being, in this limited form. That this is us, I'm this body, I'm this mind, I'm my thoughts, I'm my feelings, I'm my emotions. And it's not that we're not any of those, but we're more than that. Our awareness can extend into space, it can extend infinitely. But we can start with just feeling the space that we have around us here. So as you feel into the vibrancy of that space, that gap between the feet, we're going to fold ourselves over that space. So we're going to let the turn come from the hip joints. That's it, perfect. So we're keeping this length between the pubis and the breastbone. And we're going to bring our fingertips, either our hand to our block or book, if we're using support, or you may bring your fingertips to the floor. And once we're there, again, let's bring in that quality of lila, of play, as expressed by that deity I mentioned, Lalita. Let's embody that quality of playfulness. So it might be that we move a little here, and you can move around your mat as you wish. I can see that there's a few of you going into some nice movements there from side to side. You might walk your hands forward, you might walk your hands back. And breathe. Now feel into, the qualities of your own nature within, your body, within your breath here. So the nature of our sort of manifest reality, whilst we move, I want us to feel into that. So yoga philosophy teaches us that the nature, or prakriti as it's called in yoga philosophy, is what makes up the entire manifest world. And through prakriti it is manifest through three qualities, three gunas, and they are qualities of rajas, which is activity. Okay, activity and movement and action. Tamas, which is more stillness, inertia, darkness. And sattva, which is illumination or light. So feel into your body. Maybe, we can feel those qualities being expressed in parts of the body. There might be some parts of the body, perhaps after the week we've had, that may feel a little dull. There might be some that feel sort of overactivated. And there may be some, perhaps, that we can find that just feel illuminated and alive. Okay, you may continue folding into a forward bend if that turn is coming from your hip joint, so try not to hang off your spine. So if you start hanging off your spine, what you'll notice is, there may be an over activation through the back, but then a dullness that comes into the front of the body. If we start sort of hanging in this fashion, then we start creating this quality of tamas through the front of the body and rajas through the back of the body. Whereas we may be looking for a more illuminated experience. So if we can move at the body's own natural pace, then we'll feel that the body feels more alive, it feels more illuminated. And we start to experience this integration, this state of integration that yoga is giving us or revealing to us. Okay, now we're going to walk our feet in towards each other. So if you folded forwards, press into your hands to come to the midway position. Walk your feet in towards each other. We're not going to come up, so bend your knees as much as you need to do this. We are going to bend them anyway because we're going to come down and we're going to sit back on our heels. So our knees are bent. That's it, perfect. We sit back on our heels. We rest our hands in our lap. And we breathe. Now, some of you will need a little bit of support here between buttocks and heels. You're all regular students of mine, so I know that you know what to do and how to support yourself. So, do take that support as you need it. Some of you will need a bit of support under the ankles too, so take that support if you need it. And then resting your hands in your lap and let everything settle into this moment. Let everything settle into this moment. Your breath, your mind, your heart, your body. You may allow the chin to slightly tuck forwards towards the chest, but staying nice and open around the throat, nice and easeful through the back of the neck, so just try not to be looking up. And we're just going to play a little across our shins here. And again, if there's any knee discomfort here, you need to be aware of this. But what I'm doing, I'm rolling across my shins, but I'm allowing my thigh and shin to move together. So I'm not moving against the knee joint, so the whole of my leg is moving across the shins. Now you might take your fingertips to the floor either side of you to support this, and then you may be able to roll a little further so we can just feel into the shins. Okay? So we're getting a little bit of a massage across the front of the ankles. functions, and we're playing into that. Okay, that's it. Breathe, feeling the buttocks moving across your heels or your block. Okay, well done. And then just come to settle. And one of the things that I really notice in my practice, and I think some of you notice it in your practice, is that what comes out of movement is stillness. Because there is this quality of stillness that is underlying everything. And stillness, it's a quality and experience of, how we find ourselves. It doesn't mean that there is no movement. It's just this quality of peacefulness, of not having to be the doer, of not having to, move into action, which, we spend most of our lives doing. This is the quality of stillness we're moving towards, that, it's okay to just be here at rest and to feel the vibrancy within that rest. Okay, we're going to release from our kneeling position now, so you can just shift your bum over to one side and swing out your legs. You might need a bit of movement, perhaps you need to move into the ankles, so feel free to give the feet a little movement around. And we're going to come onto our back and we're going to have our strap, our belt, your scarf, whatever it is you may have, and we're going to lay down. And you can open up your strap. So you've got your feet on the floor here. And with the feet on the floor, if you press your feet into the floor, you can lift up your pelvis and you can extend it away from you to make a little bit of space there in the lower back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bend the left knee. In fact, let's bend the knee that's closest to me, so depending on which side you're on. So it will help us when we move into this, that you'll be moving towards me. And then you're going to raise up that leg and you're going to place the belt. Now, in fact, let's place the belt towards the front of the heel. So I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going to come up to the screen to show you where my belt is. I think you're all familiar with this anyway. So it's around about here on the foot. And we're just using the belt in that position to start with, at least, because it helps us to get this sense of the thigh bone deepening into the hip joint. So there is a stacking of the leg above the hip. Obviously, if you are not so open in the back of the leg yet this morning, then you are fine to have your leg further away. But I want us to have our leg in extension. So rather than coming in closer and bending the knee, extend your leg and then take hold. We're not, if you've got a lot of movement, we're not moving it further over than the 90-degree position at this stage. So holding your belt, extending your arms as you hold your belt. So when you extend your arms, I want you to extend your arms to straight and then let the shoulder blades descend into the floor. Okay, so that's your position. And this is the sort of optimal position of taking hold of our belt like this, to stay open across the upper chest. So sometimes people will bend their elbows and hold the belt like this, but it tends to close us. It tends to, over-engage us around the pectoralis muscles. So we want to be soft, we want to be free there. So, again, you can feel into a bit of movement through your shoulders. You can get into that action of play, that we chanted those bejas, Aim, Kleem, Sao, to bring us into this quality of beauty and playfulness and creativity. And then as you find your breath, And you breathe perhaps into the back of the leg because perhaps it needs a bit of support. You can play into that, and you might move a little with the leg now as it starts to ease into the posture. You may be able to bend your elbows and let the leg draw back and forth at your own pace. And just check that you are staying relaxed through your facial muscles as you do this. And check that you are freeing your breath as you do this. So anytime a deep breath needs to come in, let it come in. Okay. Now we're going to perhaps move the belt across the ball of the foot. And on the way, I know that some of you really enjoy this, the moving back and forth of the belt. Feel free to move the belt back and forth and go for that little warming up of the plantar fascia of the foot if you enjoy that action, because that does help us to find some freedom in the back of the leg through that line of continuous connection through the system of connective tissue known as fascia. Okay, so if that is useful for you, feel free. It may be you've got cold feet. I've got slightly cold feet, so it's quite a nice way to warm them up. Okay, and then we're going to work that belt towards the ball of the foot. So once you've got your belt around the ball of your foot, then again we'll pause and we'll breathe, and it might be that we just have to take a few moments to just be still here. Just be still and just feel into, you know, what's happening in the body. So it might feel, you know, because it can be strong on the back of the leg, and then we start to get this predominance of rajas in the body here, this quality of activity, of action. So we perhaps balance that out by allowing ourselves to be a little stiller. So we're encouraged towards a more illuminated experience. Okay, now we're going to raise up the other leg so it is next to our leg, which we have the belt around. And then we are going to extend that other leg away from us. So keeping hold of the raised leg and slowly reaching the other leg towards the floor. Now, when we slow this down, it needs a little bit of support from the muscles of the abdomen. So we can feel that a little tone of support comes in there as we extend that leg away, as we breathe. Perfect. Now once that leg lands, let yourself land. So landing into, you know, a full occupation of your body where it is now. Okay, now we're going to keep hold of our belt with both hands, and we're going to allow this leg to move out to the side, so moving out towards me. So what will happen, because we are holding it with both hands, is that it's going to turn our body with it. So you let yourself roll onto your side, keeping hold of the belt. Now this the extended leg, what is your top leg, may lift up from the floor a little, and you can reach into that foot and play with finding some extension through the side of your waist. That is the upper side of your waist in this position, and you can breathe. That foot may hover perhaps, the foot of the top leg, or it can come down to the floor. If there's any discomfort in the back of the hips, in the SI joint area, keep the foot raised so you can keep your hips, your leg level with your hip. Okay, now to help us move back in, this extended top leg can lift up off the floor if you've lowered it, and then you can swing it forwards a little, and then you can swing it back and it will swing you back into the center. Perfect. Breathe. Now I'm going to turn myself around. You will be turning away from me. We're going to do the same thing again, holding the belt with both hands, and we're going to allow the leg to cross in front of the body. So you will be turning away from me, but you're going to let yourself roll all the way over. You can bring your upper arm to the floor to provide a little bit of a break to slow it down. And then you bring the leg, the foot down to the floor. You're on your side, facing towards that leg, and you're breathing. Now let's see if we can just find some space in the upper body. So you may need to lift your head up and lift and extend your chest away from the belly and breathe. Okay, well done. Now coming back in, you'll have to place a little bit more effort in pulling with the top arm, and the bottom arm, you deepen through the upper part of the bottom arm, and that should give you the purchase to roll yourselves back into the center. Well done, and take a breath. Now, probably this raised leg is really ready to release down now, so let's place the other foot on the floor. And then let's release that leg down, place the foot to the floor for a moment, find your breath. And then you may extend both legs to the floor and just pause and feel into that. So what I hope is your experience now is that leg that you just had raised feels alive. We can feel it. We can feel it as illumination in the leg. Okay, well done. Let's bend both knees and place the feet to the floor. You may need to realign yourselves, tucking under your pelvis, tucking under the shoulders. And then you may raise up your other leg. So again, we're going to start with the belt around the front of the heel. So it's the portion of the heel that is towards the arch of the foot. You're going to hold your belt with your arms extended, but again, you can walk your hands up your belt to wherever they come to with your leg, no further over than 90 degrees, but it may be further away. And then we want to make sure that the shoulder blades maintain some contact with the floor. Perfect. So this stage, this little pressure that happens with the pull of the belt as your hands apply a little pressure of pull, helps us to get this connection all the way through the leg towards the hip joint. So you can feel the thigh bone deepening into the hip joints. Perfect. Okay, and again, you might start to play into that. So at first we can feel that there's a reasonable stretch. You know, we're practicing a morning practice, so the body is normally a little stiffer, so it might take a bit of time for the body to ease into this. But you may start to play into it, so you can let your elbows bend, allowing the leg perhaps to draw over towards you. That's it, breathing. Have a little scan through the body. Is there any area that is dull or any area that is overactivated? And can we bring balance and equanimity to the body? It doesn't require us to do anything specific, but it just requires us to, observe, to be awake. And as soon as we shine the light of awareness onto any part of the body, whether it's dull or overactive, that awareness sheds that illumination onto that part of the body, and then we start to naturally move into balance. It doesn't require us to make it happen. It happens by itself. Okay, we're going to shift the belt towards the ball of the foot. So if you want to go for that little rubbing action, which will assist of the release through the back of the legs, feel free to slide your belt back and forth. That's it, breathe. You get the nice heat being created, and perhaps a bonus exfoliation of your foot. Okay, and then when you're ready, let the belt come to the ball of the foot. So this deepens the stretch through the back of the leg now. So let's support that with our breath. Make sure that the breath is flowing freely. And in that free-flowing breath, you may allow the breath to move into the back of the leg by, taking your attention there with you as you breathe. As you inhale, you can feel that you are inhaling into the back of your leg, perhaps. And then we're going to extend our other leg, we'll bring it up, sorry. So we'll come in as we did before, bring it up next to the raised leg, and then we'll slowly extend it away. So again, we can feel that there's little work through the abdominal muscles to extend that leg slowly away from us. And before you land that leg, really reach into the foot, that last stage, before the foot comes to the floor, take that little extra reach into the foot so you can feel that little stretch coming into the inner groin, and then land the foot. And when you've landed the foot, you land your whole being in. So again, we're going to take this raised leg. It's going to open out to the same side. If it's your right leg, to the right side. If it's your left leg, to the left side. And then as that leg comes out to the side, you're going to let your body roll into this. So the leg's going to extend. Let it extend as far as it will whilst you hold both sides of the belt. And then allow yourself to roll over onto your side with the leg. Perfect. Now once we're there on our side, balanced on our side hip, make sure you're not getting tight in the head or neck. You can grab some support if you need it. Then we'll lift up the foot and we'll extend into that leg so we can feel how we can open up this space through the side of the waist. What happens when we rest the foot on the floor without that extension is there's a little bit of tamas there. There's a little bit of dullness there. So let's wake up that part of the body by lifting the foot, extending it away, and we may bring it to the floor, we may keep it lifted, we may move into that leg. And then again, we're going to come back to the center. So if your foot is on the floor, lift it up from the floor, a little slight swing forwards with that leg, and then a swing back will roll you back into the center with relative ease. Breathe. And we're going to turn to the other side. I'm turning myself around, but you don't need to, just so I can still see those of you up on the screen. And you will be crossing that leg in front of your body this time. So allow the crossover, you start to feel into the twist, but then let yourself come down. You can bend the elbow of the bottom arm as you come down so that arm can meet the floor and create a little break to slow you down. And then you come, you're on your side, and again, you just pause here and breathe here. You may need to, if you feel a little closed in the underside of the body, perhaps if that element of that quality of tamas starts to creep in there, lift up, extend, lift your head up, your shoulder up, release the shoulder, and then come back down, and then you might feel just a little bit more awake there. And give yourself here, just enjoy it. Just take a few moments to be in this rest. Okay, we're going to bring ourselves back up, so there's a little extra pull on the top hand. There is a deepening of the upper arm of the lower arm, if that makes sense. And then roll yourselves back into the center. Take a moment to breathe. And then you may bend the leg that's on the floor, place the foot to the floor, and then release your belt from your raised leg. And release that foot down. Take a breath before we extend out our legs, so at least a breath, maybe a couple. And you may press your feet into the floor, lift up your pelvis, extend it away from you, and then release both legs to the floor. And let's just take our arms out wide so we can feel this spaciousness across the chest, around the heart center. Allow your facial muscles to relax completely. And let yourself even lose yourself in your breath for a few moments. So the self that we lose is the individuated sense of self that, I am my thoughts, feelings, emotion, body, personality, name, roles. We can allow that self to just get lost in the breath for a few moments. And as we allow that self to be lost in the breath for a few moments, what we find is perhaps the formless self that has no attachment to any label, that is just the experience of being. Okay. Slowly bend your knees, place your feet sensitively to the floor. So just let them come down, slowly feel as the foot takes up the weight of the legs and the lower half of the body as it moves from touch to support. And then again, find your breath. We're then going to bring our knees in towards our chest. We're going to give our knees a hug. You may perhaps interlace your fingers around your shins and roll around, or you may hold each shin independently. And here, you can play a game with this. So it might be that you perhaps move the legs from side to side. Do whatever you need to do. And just relax. Okay, we're going to roll ourselves onto our side now and come up from the side in your own time. And we're going to use either a block or a book. So, a book, as long as it's a book that, is wide enough for you to sit on. So a book provides that same purpose. So we just want a little raised seat. We just need it to be wide enough for both sitting bones to get on the book. So if you've got a yoga block, obviously use that. I'm just using a book just to show you that a book is a perfectly useful yoga block. You can then draw your buttock flesh out and back and have your legs out in front of you. Now we're going to let's just take a little gentle lean forwards. So if you find that you're rounding, what I want you to do is not necessarily make contact with the floor, just focus on lifting up so your hands can hover. If you can make some contact with the floor, you can use that contact to apply a little pressure to add a little bit more lift in the chest. So we're just playing here to find some lift and length through the body. And then we're going to draw our hands back slowly. And as you draw your hands back slowly, there's a feeling of pulling the torso through the arms and up. So it's this action like this. And then the hands come next to the hips. Your elbows can bend as much as they need to. So breathe. Perfect. And then a little pressure through the fingertips to rise up through the midline of the body. Now this is important. That extension through the upper body that we're looking for is an internal extension. It's neither the chest lifting or the back trying to lift, but it comes from the center. So then we get this rising up again of equality that comes through the whole of the torso. We're not over-activating one area. We are shining an illumination into the whole of the torso. Now we can feel that there's some work happening in the thighs, so through the quadriceps, particularly the rectus femoris. So we may need to breathe down into that area. You may feel a little tight around the front groin area at the top of the thigh. So take your breath there and feel free to move into it to sway a little. Dandasana is one of those sort of classic postures, a little like Tadasana or Shavasana, that can be underestimated. But it's a great opportunity for really pulling our attention into this moment. There's a deeply meditative quality in this posture if we allow ourselves to move into a meditation. So for that to happen, we need this relationship of equality with our breath and body and mind and heart. Okay, we're going to ease off now, so releasing your fingers, and you're going to take your knee that is closest to me, and we're going to bend that leg back, and we're going to bring the foot to the floor in front of our lift. Now, you can bring your foot fairly close in, but some people will need the foot to come further forward. So if you bring your foot in and you're sort of having to round to get that foot in, there's two things that we can do there to stop that rounding happen. Is we can raise up our seat a little more, and that will give you a little bit more space for the lower back, or we can extend that foot a little further. So there's various reasons why it might happen. And, parts of the reasons are sort of the relative length of your torso with your femur, with your thigh bone, how much movement we've got in our hip flexor muscles at the moment, how much movement we've got through our back, and, how much we can engage our postural muscles. There's many factors that will affect this, how, free we are in the hips. So, make those modifications as you need to. Then holding on to your shin, finding that light rising up, breathing. And we're going to be turning into a twist, and you're going to be turning towards your bent leg. So let's find some depth through the foot that is on the floor. So through this foot of the bent leg. Deepen into that, and as you deepen into that foot, we can feel that energy that's created from that depth comes up through the shin, back up through the thigh, and then up through the torso. And then we're going to inhale as we rise up through the body. And as we exhale, we're going to turn towards that leg. Now, the turn is assisted by the lift through the torso. This is what allows us to find space in the vertebrae to turn. But also, it may be assisted by allowing this hip of the bent leg to move back. So the pelvis and the spine, need to be often sort of operated together, because the spine attaches into the pelvis. They are effectively like one unit. So if we allow the pelvis to turn a little there, then we'll get a deeper turn through the spine. Now your fingertips can come to the floor behind you, or you can grab a book or block to put them onto. If your arm length, again, relative to your torso, means that your hand is hovering. And keep that lift. Now I'm hugging in my knee here. I always enjoy this stage because I enjoy the quality of feeling like getting a little hug here. We're all limited in the amount of people we can hug at the moment, so you can enjoy hugging your own leg. Okay. But you might find if you've got a lot of time, you are free to move this twist a little further by raising that arm up, getting some length and some stretch through the side ribs, and then bringing the arm onto the outside. Now, try not to go for this action of pushing and levering. Find the extension of the toe from this lift, okay? And if you go there and it feels a little bit too stuck, if it feels like there's a bit too much, perhaps too much rajas or tamas, like we might have too much activity of force, or it might be creating dullness, self-set wear in the body, then just back off. Take the hug of your leg and enjoy that. And again, you can feel free to move into it. Yeah, you can go further into it. I can see that Catherine's gone for the bind there. So it's fine to keep moving into it if your body is allowing that and it feels, appropriate. We don't have to also back off to practice yoga. So sometimes the body will naturally be led to a further stage, but it can be done with full awareness and it's fine. Listening and responding. Sometimes it takes us into a further stage physically, and sometimes it takes us back. Okay, that's it. Ease off, release, turn. Take a breath. And then you may slowly release that leg forwards towards the other leg, and you might need to give yourselves a bit of movement. Perhaps I often like to get my thumbs into the top of the front thighs because, I can feel that little gripping of the rectus femoris, this most superficial of our quadricep muscles that is attached into the pelvis, so it helps in this hip flexion. So it gets a little bit grippy after those kind of postures. So I often find a little massage helps to release that. You can then draw your other leg back. So it's your leg that's furthest from me. Okay, I'm going to turn myself around just so I can still see, but you don't need to. Okay. And then again, when you bring that leg back, make sure that as you bring the leg back, it's not causing you to round over. Take a higher lift if you need to. Take the foot a little further forwards if you need to, if you need more strength. So we find this depth through this foot. It comes up through the shin, it feeds back up through the thigh, and then it feeds up through the body. As the hands hold on to the shin, there can be a little almost downward pull on the shin to assist with that lift through the upper body. But again, try not to go into an overemphasis through the front of the torso. See if you can feel the lift as an internal lift. Okay, then when you're ready again, we're going to move into the twist. So we're going to inhale as we rise up And as we exhale, we're going to lift and turn, bringing our fingertips to the floor behind us or to a little bit of support. And then you may take that hug. Again, you may find it beneficial to allow this hip to draw back. So there's a little sort of pivoting on the sitting bone of the extended leg to allow the sitting bone of the bent leg to draw back a little. And this is actually, you know, a good thing to do if you have tweaky SI joints. So, you know, it keeps that alignment of the spine and the pelvis together. Then you may go for the hug in, and then you can go if space comes through those stages. Perhaps you may move the body, so a little lean back into the hand and then a push into the hand to rise up. Anything that helps you to, you know, you might wiggle your way to freedom perhaps here. If you are going to bring your arm onto the outside of the thigh, it's really useful to lift and extend up through that arm before you take the arm over, so you can create again a little bit more freedom in those side ribs of that arm that we're working with, and it will allow you to turn more effectively. And you can do it as many times as you need to. And then, you know, you've got the various stages you can be at wherever you are. Doesn't matter, some of you, I can see Lucy's gone for the binds there as well. You know, those who know it and their body is happy to go there, you can go there. And so breathe. Okay, well done. A slow, slow release. Coming back, extending the leg out in front of you. Having a deep breath, giving yourselves a little bit of movement perhaps here. Maybe you need to get into that little massaging action or a little shake, a little roll of the legs, even a little patting action, whatever is useful. And then we're going to come off our block because, you know, I would say no class is complete without a downward facing dog, but, you know, sometimes I do teach classes without downward facing dog, but probably only 1% of the time. So let's come in and do a downward facing dog. So when you're ready, let's bring ourselves onto our hands and knees, taking the hands so they're shoulder width apart, spreading the fingers, playing into some movements. So maybe you need to, you know, feel a little freedom through the lower back here after our Marichasana, our twisting posture. So, you know, feel any movement you need. And then our feet are around about hip width apart, and we're going to bring ourselves up. So I often like to have a little shunt forwards of my weight towards my hands so I can really pick up the lift from my hands, and then press firmly through the hands to extend up through the arms, to extend up through the torso, and extend through the legs. So we want that height in the sitting bones. This can be helped by perhaps bending the knees, perhaps lifting the heels to start with. Get that really, you know, kind of sharp angle at the pelvis is really useful. And then when you've got that angle, and you might play into it again, so this creativity, this playfulness, this experience of beauty in our posture even. And then we breathe. Don't grasp for a particular shape. It's actually completely irrelevant as to whether we move to yoga, what shape our body is in. Okay, perfect. Calm down. Staying with your breath as you come down to your hands and knees. Take a pause there of at least a couple of breaths. Then you may either come to sit back on your heels in Vajrasana or in an upright seated position, or you can take it back to a child's pose into Balasana. So either coming back, resting your hands in your lap, or slowly sinking your buttocks back to your heels, head towards the floor. Allowing everything to settle. Okay, and then when you're ready, if you're in child pose, bring yourself up slowly. It's already time for Shavasana. It's gone very quickly this morning, so we're going to come down for Shavasana. Feel free to roll it out if you need to when you're on your back, a little hug of your knees to your chest, a little gentle twist from side to side. I know you all who are in the class today, and I know that you're all experienced yoga practitioners, so you can trust into, feeling into your own body and what you need to do before you lay yourselves down for Shavasana. So when you lay yourselves down for Shavasana, as always, we're going to have our arms out a little away from the body like so. So there's a little space in the armpits. We might take a little bit of support underneath the head. Okay, and we might have a bit of support behind the knees too. So, just play into what you need, move around, and then allow yourself to just drop into stillness there. Obviously, make sure you're warm. So we're laying down. We're closing your eyes. So you can do this little extension forwards of your pelvis before you come down. It's useful, pressing the feet into the floor. A little tuck under of the shoulders so you can deepen into the back of the head. So you've got the freedom to roll the shoulders and allow the shoulder blades to deepen into the back of the body. You're not trying to squeeze them together though. You want to feel spacious between the back of the shoulder blades. And then your arms out to the sides. Or hands on your belly, or one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. So these are also really lovely positions to be in for Shavasana. And then closing your eyes and just letting your breath settle completely. Your breath flows. Your body gives to that flow. Giving to the vibrant stillness of Shavasana. We may perceive the underlying fluttering of consciousness through the body. The pulsation of awareness. That is everywhere. We can feel it within. In the deepest reaches of our body, we can feel it through the outer surface of our body. We can feel it in the floor beneath us. We can feel it in the space around us. The field of vibrant awareness. We are in it. We are it. Slowly bend your knees and place your feet to the floor. May then gently roll to lay on your right side and pause there. And then you may roll over onto your other side and pause there. And then in your own time, just slowly, perhaps with little sort of exploratory movements out of the body, Perhaps deeper breaths. Bring yourselves up when you're ready from your side, and we're going to close our class together. We're going to chant those 3 beajas that we chanted at the beginning, so I will remind you of those. It's Aim, Kleem, Sao. Okay? And as we chant them, we're going to feel that. Allow them to inspire our creativity today, our playfulness, our appreciation of beauty, of everything that is manifest. So you may bring your hands together, Aim, Kleem, Sao. So take a deep inhalation to prepare. Aim. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's so lovely to see you all online. It's really, I feel very lucky that I have this job that